introduction for you guys. Our new VP of Business Development, Tommy Moore.
Hey guys, it's Tommy with NPR Title with Tommy Talks Title Tuesday. Let's get into this.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another episode of Tommy Talks Title Tuesday, the podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, someone that is near and dear to my heart. I call her Gabby, but I'll bring her up in a moment. I'll let her introduce herself. She is she's a phenomenal woman, just really making some major moves here in the DFW area. Definitely someone that you need to get to know, especially if you are a realtor, even if you're a home buyer or a seller. You need to get to know her because she's really making an impact on Dallas. Glad everybody is back for another episode. I was actually at a meeting prior to this recording, and people are starting to ask, like, okay, well, who are you going to have on the show next? I'm like, okay. So it's applying pressure, but I'm glad I have such amazing people like Gabby in my circle to be able to bring her on to talk about the topics that are relevant to us in the real estate industry. So without further ado, Gabby, come on up, girl.
Hi.
Hey, Gabby. How are you today?
Hello. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, you should be, girl. Listen here. Hopefully it gets your phone buzzing and increases our membership and everything, because people definitely need to know what we do. Mm-hmm. So, we talked briefly about like what this podcast is really about. It's really about, to talk about Women's Council, but obviously you couldn't be the president of Women's Council Dallas if you were not a realtor. So we'll get into that, but let me get you to just introduce yourself. When I say introduce yourself, we're not talking about business. We're talking about who is Gabby, where you're from. Tell us about some personal things in your life that we wouldn't normally know because we don't get to see who Gabby is when she closes the door at night. So introduce yourself, Gabby.
Yeah. So my name is Gabby, Gabriella. I'm here locally from, actually live more closer to Fort Worth, but I am here to support the Dallas network. I could say I'm a mom. I'm a mom of a 10-year-old. She's going to be 11 this month. So, and she's going to middle school next year. So I'm kind of like in that line of like bittersweet.
Yes.
Letting go, but come back, stay here with me.
Right.
I also coach her sports team. So on the weekends, I coach her volleyball, soccer, and her basketball teams. As well as myself. I try to stay also active. I think physical health is also important. So once a week, we go play sand volleyball with a group of friends on a league. And I, at least once or twice a week, try to go for a quick 1 or 2 mile run. And that's kind of more like on the personal level, but also stay busy. I mean, I work real estate. I also still work in hospitality industry. Working for Women's Council of Realtors, and just being an active mom, entrepreneur mindset and helping out in the community as much as I can.
Wow. Like you just blew me away. I'm like, Gabby, when do you have time for all of this stuff? I mean, I am a full-time, I call it solo parent. And I definitely try to segment my day, utilize my time. I mean, you say it often, like, we have a meeting, just bring Winston, just bring him, because, there's a lot of balance, especially in this business, and, and especially realtors, you guys are entrepreneurs. And, with that, you definitely have to be able to know how to, like you said, your health is wealth. You got to be able to put in some activity there, but also maintaining your business. So, wow. Thanks for sharing. Now, when I get tired, I'll be like, well, Gabby's probably coaching, a soccer game or something. So let me do something extra for today. All right. So I created a list of questions that I want to ask you, and like I said, it's really to like for realtors, because I get people asking me all the time, like, what are the benefits of women's council, and the differences in. I got asked today, like, well, I know there's Dallas, there's different chapters around. Well, why should we join the Dallas chapter? Of course, I have my reasons, but you as the president of Women's Council Dallas, definitely would love to have your input. But I'll start with some of these questions that I created. And again, like, this is a conversation. So however you answer it, we're not on the news. So we're girls, so we'll just talk. So just tell me, like, how did you get started in real estate, and what inspired you to become a realtor?
Yeah, so that's kind of gonna go a lot with kind of like a lot of realtors in nowadays. So like I was mentioning, my background is hospitality industry. So I worked in hospitality in hotels for 15 years. And then with the pandemic, I was furloughed. And then during that furlough, it was like, okay, well, what's going to happen? Nobody knew what was going to go on. And that gave me time to contemplate and see, like, what was my next action plan and plan of action. Single parent as well, single income. My mindset wasn't just to sit around and kind of like twiddle my thumbs and collect. That was just my mindset.
Sure.
And being in sales for such a long time in hotels, like, what can I still do that I can use what I've learned and exercise it? And I've always been intrigued with real estate. And so I did my research, saw how much it would be. I was like, okay, if they give me that layoff call, I'm going to just go for it. And maybe like a week or two after I looked into the classes, I got the call, and I was like, purchase.
Wow.
And just took the classes back to back, 4 weeks straight. I mean, I had the time, and I just went for it.
I love it. I mean, and especially during that time, because I can sit and reminisce on where I was, especially during COVID. And I was blessed, however, to have already owned a business, and I was actually working in the business. And during COVID, I didn't go out, though. I had a notary business. And so, like, how I started working in title, I was marketing to title companies.
Oh, wow.
And so when I started working in title last year, it was because one of the clients that I had reached out to, or a prospect that I had reached out to, was like, hey, I think you can do this, because, you're like badass. Like, you're really like taking the bull by the horns. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, but like you said, like, I have a sales background. So my sales background, those are transferable skills. Right. And so, like, and then I feel like, even when you and I are collaborating, when we're having our calls, like, we talk about, okay, we bounce ideas off of one another, what will work. And I mean, I definitely feel like that's one of the benefits of me being, part of Women's Council, is that, you get to talk these things out. And as an entrepreneur, yes, you work with, the Monument team, but, at the end of the day, you are an entrepreneur. So you have to get it and do what works for you. Right.
Right.
So like using that, and I'm going to segue into the next question. What are some of the biggest challenges realtors may be facing in today's market, and how do you see the industry evolving in the future?
So I do see the reaction. I think sometimes we become very reactive people by nature. And I think that if you've been in sales before, you're going to be proactive in making the calls and kind of expecting. If you haven't been and haven't had that sales background, it's going to be a little bit tougher. It's not that you can't overcome it and it's not teachable, but I think right now some of the obstacles that I'm seeing is everyone's in that mindset of recession. And it's, if you take out that recession part and just do the work, I think just even the word recession it's a negative word. So Don't start off your day with such a negative word, and maybe change it to something more positive, more like progression or process.
Yes. I love
prospecting. I think that would be a little bit more impactful than starting your day off with that word. I'm not even going to say the word because
I don't even say it. It's like a bad word, right? Like,
that's a bad word. But I have been hearing a lot of agents that have been struggling a little bit at the end, and then some also where kind of going like with what you were saying, like with the Women's Council, sometimes I find myself even closer to members of WCR. And we can call each other and say, hey, I just want your opinion on this. I'm going through this transaction. What would you do? Also, masterminding with each other. I think that's very helpful, even going through any obstacles in the real estate industry or whatever, if you have a transaction or you're trying to mastermind or build your team. I think being able to still collaborate, being open to ideas and suggestions.
That's really good. That's definitely good advice. I know, with being in title, I meet with a lot of, real estate partners, whether they're realtors, whether they're in lending, and everybody wants to know, like, hey, well, how do we get new clients? What do we need to be doing? What places and what rooms do we need to be in? And it's especially with me being a part of Women's Council, they want to know, like, so what do you guys do, to help real estate agents? And which the next question is like, how do you balance your role as a realtor and the responsibilities as president of Women's Council of Realtors, which, all the stuff that you just named. But and I wanted to put that question next, especially after, like, of just a discussion of like being able to collaborate, because you've got your personal life that you've got to, balance with the child who's very active. And you also have a group of grown women, children, and men that you're also collaborating with and making sure that everything works together there. So how do you balance those roles?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
With being a realtor, right?
With being a realtor.
You're like, I don't know, I just do it.
I get asked that question all the time, to be honest. Even when I'm having meetings with people wanting to join as a committee member, or, how much time is this going to take for my day to day? I'm still active in real estate. It's more of a question of like, how well do you time manage your time?
Right.
And how much do you want to put in? How much work do you want to put into real estate? How much work do you want to put into Women's Council? And honestly, like for me, my position in Women's Council, it is a volunteership duty. And also, it's kind of like an act of kindness versus a act of greediness, like what's in it for me. In my position and my role, it's more, what can I outpour and share to the community versus expecting something always in return.
Right.
And then as a realtor, it balances where I tell a lot of these agents, I was like, you have to manage your clients. Don't let the clients manage you, because it's your business. You have your open hours, your close hours, your meeting hours. And like Women's Council, if I have a board meeting, it's scheduled out. I know what day it is. I know what time frame I need to block out. And then I work around that. If I have showings, same thing with my daughter's games. If I know on Saturday from 2 to 4 she has a game, I don't schedule any showings during that time. If anything, it's before or after. Right. So it's really just knowing your schedule. I have a calendar that I carry with me in my car, on my phone. Calendars everywhere for me is huge, just because I'm also, I don't know if you know this, but I also help recruit for Monument.
Yeah, I actually learned that, was it last week?
Last week?
Yeah, I learned that last week, yeah.
I was like, oh, sorry, I'm in a meeting.
Yes.
So I do that too. There's so many hats that you can put on, but
Sure.
I think that for me, God gives me the ability to want more, and He hasn't stopped me yet. So it's like, I feel like if He has closed doors for me, maybe that's where He's like, okay, now you need to yield, and this is where you need to stay. But so many doors are opening, and I feel like, this is God's way, just telling me, just keep going.
I love it.
And that's kind of just being able to balance it all. It's like, okay, if He tells me to keep going, I'm gonna keep going. Women's Council, realtor, hospitality,
it.
recruiter, mom life, my life.
I love that.
So
I
like
know,
my
right?
it's like my
I know,
life.
right? No, I love that. You know what's funny? I was over here, I reached around. So I got this book. I ordered a book and it came in today, Kind Folks Finish First. And the fact that you just mentioned, you know, you have to do everything in kind, right? And because I know like just dealing with different personalities, like it can cause you to become frustrated. And, that's why like I like you run, I run at least 3 or 4 times a week, 2 miles. And during that time, I'm either listening to an audiobook, listening to some affirmations, something that just puts my mindset like to just really just being kind, because you don't know what the world is going to, bring at you. And especially with the different hats that you wear, like you have to always keep that in mind. And I love the fact that you're like, you put your faith there, like, well, God, if you're bringing me to it, I must be able to go through it. Right. But that's really, really good. I mean, I'm happy that you shared that, because I'm always like trying to be intentional about like, especially like, I mean, like you set those boundaries, because I have people that call me on Saturday. The title office closed at 5:30. The title office closes at Friday at 5:30, but I still get phone calls sometimes all weekend long with, questions. And, thankfully, Jerry, she'll respond back to me if I ask her a question, but, I'm kind of left on the hook to like answer those questions. But what was that? I think the weekend after spring break, I took my son out, and I got a text message from an agent that I hadn't heard from in a long time. And I had to just say, nope, I'm not going to reply until Monday. I'm not going to reply till Monday, because I have to set some boundaries somewhere, because it's that balance that we have to have. Yeah, your daughter just as well as my son, like they know, that we work all of the time, and obviously those skills are going to transfer over to them as being hard workers. They were like, well, that's what my son said. What's the meaning of life? Is it just about working? Like, seems like it. Seems like it. But no, son, that's not what it's really about. But I can really appreciate those words, Gabby. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. So tell me, what are some of the most misconceptions about real estate, and how do you educate your clients and other industry professionals to dispel those myths?
I guess depending like which myths. So if it's coming from a seller or buyer from clients, the myths are like, we're going to get a house within 30 days. We're walking in the door. Or, as soon as we start seeing houses, we have keys in the hand. And it's like, no, first you need to get a pre-approval. Let's walk through some homes. What does a budget look like? So really educating them. And that's why a lot of people in real estate start doing those buyer seminars. And they are very important to do and go to those buyer seminars. And I do encourage those that want to buy to go. People are very scared of like, oh, what are people going to think of me? If you take away what other people's perception of you even attending out of the way, and just go at least to get the information that you need on like how to buy a home, then they need to go. And so that myth and perception of like, what are others going to think of me, and thinking that you'll just be able to buy whenever you want to buy without even at least consulting with a lender or a realtor, you're not doing yourself any justice. Same thing on the selling side. As a seller, I've gone into homes and I was like, well, I want to sell my house for $500,000. And it's like, well, your house based on the comp set is like $350. Oh, but I want to list it at $500. And they're just so adamant, And so you have some realtors, one or the two will walk away because they know better that they cannot sell the house for $500. The house will sit. And then there's some realtors that will go ahead and just list it at the $500, let it sit. And then you're not doing your client any justice at all, because they're not selling in a time frame that maybe they thought they would sell in. So it's really educating and building that trust and rapport on why the house should be listed at the price that we're offering it to be listed at.
Okay.
um,
Okay.
instead of going on Google and Zillow.com. And then
So those are not accurate. No, I'm just kidding.
no, stop. I do not approve this message.
I know, right?
And then the other misconception of on the other side of, people that want to become realtors, I feel really compelled and almost like educated when someone's going through champions, for example, or going through the classes, or when they ask me, hey, I want to be a realtor, is it easy? It looks like you're doing it so good. Social media is great, right, for us when we're marketing. But what we forget to do is also showcase the work behind it, because they're really like, oh, this looks great, man, I want to be a realtor too. But they forget that we have MLS fees, so we have quarterly fees, annual fees, office fees, gas, mileage, wear and tear on your car.
Oh yeah.
So it's really just also educating those that actually want to go into real estate.
Right,
It's not just opening doors and showing houses.
It's definitely, it's truly an investment, and investment of your time, most importantly. The material things. I mean, you are a phenomenal agent, like yourself, and you're putting in that hard work, then it'll pay for itself. But for the folks who just think that, I'm an agent, and now I should have 4 or 5 listings, and I have buyers calling me left and right. I saw a lady's testimony on Instagram or Facebook, might have been both, where she said that for 6 months she didn't have a closing, and and she's a full-time, she's a single mom, and just the struggles in doing all that. But one thing I didn't see her do is quit. She was constantly posting. Of course I don't know what she was doing offline, but what I did see, I never lost sight of her whenever I logged on to social media. And I tell people all the time, believe it or not, y'all, I wish I could delete all my social media pages. I'm a very private person, but digital marketing has definitely helped, with increasing, business here at NPR Title. Has also helped me, gain recognition. I got people, calling me from other states who want hey, do you do, any marketing consulting? I would love to, emulate what you're doing. So, and you don't know who's watching, so constantly do it. But it's not going to come easy. For some folks, if you've have you ever been a part of a multi-level marketing company?
No, I've been called about it, but
okay. So the MLM, basically the structure, which is still sales, but it's based off of your network. And so the numbers and phone numbers in your phone, it lets you know how close you are to people. I can say that for sure. But you use your network to market your business. So I probably have over 1,000 contacts in my phone, but what I'm supposed to do is reach out to all of those people to sell my service. Okay. Well, typically, when let's say different agents join different brokerages, they have these recruiting, you're a recruiter. They want you to bring you guys want you to bring your book of business. Same thing with NPR Title. I have to bring my book of business, and that's just a part of sales, right? In order to be able to increase it. But the whole format, a multi-level marketing, you're using what's in your phone. Now, it's great if you got a lot of people in your phone that want to buy houses or list their homes. Yeah. But what if you don't? And then now you're sitting months and months and months have passed, and you're like, well, what do I do? Well, you got to get out there and grind, a guy, it's not just going to fall in your lap. You got, like you said, the gas and, prices, seem to be going down, and then you look up and it's gone back up,
Just when we were going down.
Right. I recently bought an economical car. I haven't used unleaded gas since 2009. So, and I just bought a car that uses unleaded gas. So I feel like I'm winning, but great advice. So let me switch gears because time does go by really fast. Yeah. So how has Women's Council of Realtors helped you in your career? And what are some of the benefits of being a member of the organization?
So how has it helped me in my career? I would say confidence.
love
It
that.
has helped me build more confidence. And it's still working on it, kind of like public speaking is one of those areas where I wasn't so strong about, but you know, very slowly it was like, okay, I need to get up there and speak, and just taking a deep breath and just going for it. So I think just confidence in myself. And also I would say the community, the network that I've been able to meet. And I have sent referrals. So some of the benefits for a women's council of realtors, and I will say this with a grain of salt because not everybody feels the same way, but it is structured and built to be this way. So Women's Council of Realtors, it is a top referral network. It is a top referral network because you're meeting and networking at least once a month. I encourage members to actually attend the events because otherwise you're not really going to get the benefit.
Right.
You know, it's like if you have, health insurance, but you never go to the doctor. So like, why have the insurance? You're paying for health insurance, but you never get a checkup. So also the business leadership training. So there is online training for leadership discounted. So there's a PNM certification that you can get at a discounted price for women under Women's Council. There is also Women's Council member benefits program. And there's like a whole list, and this is where I at least get the benefit because I like to travel, and you can get discounted rooms, you can get discounted car rentals. If you want to send, a client a gift, there's discounted like flower arrangements. Office Depot, you can get discount. I think it's like 20% discount at Office Depot. So there's so much like little buttons in there that you can go in there as a member and get discounts for. And I've used the Office Depot one before too. We also have where another one is the connection and camaraderie. So we have both live and virtual. So right now virtual is a lot of the board meetings, but we are really pushing for live and in-person events. We kept getting in 2021. I joined in 2021 as a member, and then got elected.
Okay, pause. You joined in 2021 as a member. In 2023, you're the president. Did you freeze?
It froze.
Yeah, it froze. I'm like, wait. I'm like,
2021.
You joined as a member. In 2023, you're the president, and I've never seen a promotion that fast in anything. So that is phenomenal.
Well, I mean, I remember when Brittany asked me, she's like, "Hey, would you like to be on the board?" And again, like I'm like aiming high, and I was like, "Well, I want to be the president just after you," and so she's. So, you have elections, you have to apply, get elected, get voted on. At the time, we were very small. Whenever I joined, we had 15 members total, including myself. And I said, I want to be president, but I also want to help grow the network. And last year, that's really what our focus was, is to grow the network. And this year, we heard a lot of agents and members, like what they want to benefit out of Women's Council was more education, more not as they like the happy hours, but they do want to be educated at the same time, or just some takeaway that's more relatable. And I think, for example, we do have one in May that you're going to help us, be part of. And the mental health awareness month. We'll have a mental health awareness event where we have a life coach. We have someone that's a therapist, and we also have that we're partnering with the Mental Health of America of Greater Dallas coming out to speak with us. So that's, I feel like a good takeaway. It's more of a personal mental health awareness. Afterwards, we'll be able to network. So let's still network, but let's also take something away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one thing that I like about our organization is that, you know, it's very diverse, you know, Black, Hispanic, you know, white, men, women, like, you know, like there's no discrimination here. Like, and we're all like, all of our opinions count. And, you know, I know there are some affinity groups that are around Dallas that, you know, obviously, you know, most of their members are, whether they're Black or most of the members are Hispanic, and they cater to those things. And obviously, because you want to build up your community. What I would love to see us do, which I believe we're having like a diversity event. Is it this summer?
Yes, June 23rd.
Yeah, we're having a diversity event this summer, but just even like just really being able to educate, you know, other realtors and how to, well, if they come to that event, you know, just being able to be a part of that and seeing how we need to reach, you know, folks in our own communities. One thing I always, you know, I was like, Gabby, don't you speak Spanish? Well, I don't see anything in Spanish. Like, you know, you need to put, you know, you like, if I was bilingual, you probably couldn't get me to stop talking in another language. like, if
You know, you know, so I do speak Spanish. It is my first language, but you also have to know that my Spanish is like street Spanish, you know. So
no, and that's good. No, that's good.
And going into real estate and hospitality, like you have to kind of like learn almost like a new language, but still the same language. So it's like, okay, new terms. It's just new terms, new terminology, and but no, I have some Spanish speakers clients that I've worked with many times. You know what? That's true. I haven't done a lot of like videos or a lot of Spanish flyers, but I do like on my page, like Se Habla Español, and I have people reach out to me and like, do you speak Spanish or hablas español? And I was like, yeah, I speak Spanish. I have a couple clients now that are Spanish speakers, and they don't speak English. But yeah, I probably do need to promote that a little more.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. Like we've had a couple of clients to come into NPR with their agents. And although I don't speak Spanish, I look at people's faces to see like if people understand like what's being communicated, because I'm relying on the realtor to communicate, you know, what we're saying in the office. And like the last couple that was here, they understood English, but obviously their first language is Spanish. But I'm looking at the realtor and I'm like, nah. And he was like, do you understand me? I was like, no, I don't. But I'm looking at their faces and they're nodding and they're like, yeah, he's explaining very clearly. Like, and I'm like, okay. And that's what I really like to know. I worked in default servicing. You know, I've said it many times. I worked in default servicing back 2010, 11, 12. And I was taking homes from minorities. They were non-English speaking. They were elderly Black folks who either they didn't have an education or they saved up their life savings. They came from another country to buy homes, only to find out that their homes were interest only. They would have never owned their homes. Or, you know, they missed a payment. The letters came in the mail and they were in, you know, English, and, you know, they didn't know what it was. And so I was there to basically take their homes. And it was so disheartening, because I'm like, no one was like help them, you know. And so when we're in a closing, I'm like, you know, making sure, like, are you communicating what you need to communicate? Do you guys understand, you know, what we're communicating? Because, you know, not to stop the closing, but I've seen it firsthand. And that's one thing that Jerry likes is like, you know, she was like, when me and Miss Deborah, when we're acting as notary, she was like, y'all get in there and y'all be explaining and, you know, and trying to help out the best way we can. It's because, you know, we've seen, you know, where Black and brown folks lost their homes because of the lack of education. So like, yes, utilize your Spanish, girl.
Yeah. It's very sad to hear a lot of those stories, unfortunately. I mean, I'm, like I said, I am a Spanish speaking agent, and I've helped many Spanish sellers and buyers. And, you know, even the I-10 sellers and buyers are different. You know, those that have an I-10, that could be another segment later on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but it's so much behind the doors and behind the scenes that if you
Right.
don't know, you don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're gonna sell a house and they want to sell it later on down the line, educate them at least so that they can appreciate you and call you. Because
Absolutely.
yeah, it's really sad to see how many
Yes, it
houses
is.
in
Oh,
the
yes.
colored community,
Oh,
both brown
yeah.
and black,
Absolutely.
lose out.
All right. So let me ask. Let's see. See if I can find one more Women's Council Realtors questions. Let's see. What sets? Yeah. Let me ask you that. What sets Women's Council of Realtors apart from other professional organizations, and why other realtors should consider joining?
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a heavy one. Not because it's bad heavy, but because there's so many good organizations.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
don't
let's
want to
see.
downplay
No,
any
and we're
other
not.
yeah, and
It's
that's
not to downplay
but we're
any.
better. I was like
I mean, because I mean, I'm a part of other organizations. I've attended other organizations' events and whatnot. But I wanted to have you on as a guest. Not only because you're a realtor, but because you're the president of Women's Council of Realtors, and just because a lot of people ask me, like, well, what are the benefits? Like, well, why should I join? And well, what do you guys do? Well, I know, they brag about our events, but I want them to definitely take away something from it as well. So this is not to put down any other organization,
yeah.
but how do you think how we stick out like a sore thumb?
Yeah,
And why?
I think going back to your last comment on the diversity and inclusivity,
Mm-hmm.
because there are a lot of networks out there and organizations that are a little bit more tailored towards one, ethnic group or culture
Right,
or whatever
right.
the case might be. I'm a member of NARUP as well. Of course, our local associations, Metro Tex and CCAR. I'm probably going to do like the YPN as well. So being involved in so many organizations is not bad at all.
Yeah.
How I differentiate Women's Council is just, for me, in my opinion, is that we are a very diverse and inclusive organization, at least and I can only speak on Dallas.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've been at least striving for is like, hey, men, women, all colors, like come one, come all. We're here to network, feed off of each other, mastermind. I see a lot of people that have come and speak at our events just rise,
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen it too.
so I'm just like, man, they were at our event.
Yeah.
But I can see where it could benefit, especially those
Mm-hmm.
that are wanting to pour in.
Right. And that's key.
And I think when people pour in out of the goodness of their heart and they don't, how do I explain? Because we are a not-for-profit organization. So a lot of times we do ask for an in-kind speaker or we ask for a lot of sponsorships. I do feel that whenever people are doing it out of pure kindness, it does come back to them
Sure.
either the same way or even bigger and even more opportunities. Even for this next event for the mental health, I can already foresee that they will see the life coach, the therapist, and the Bonnie Cook with our keynote speaker. They're probably going to reach out to them too, like, hey, come and do something for us too somewhere else, because people are just wanting to have more information and share it.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think that's where, at least for me, in my opinion, is like what we're trying to do is a little bit different. It's not very just always kind of like what I was going back before. It's like, it's not always just a happy hour. Let's get let's do a wow event, take away, and also network at the same time. Like, what can we do to combine all together at the same time? And I think this year, I would say January, February started a little bit slower because everyone's kind of coming back from the holidays, getting back in the groove. But I think starting this month, April and onward, you're going to see a lot more events where you're going to see how inclusive and diverse it is.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I definitely know that networking is key. I mean, I met you at a networking
Yeah.
event that was hosted by WCR. I think it was March of last year,
Yeah, at the
and
membership drive.
no, it was wait a
At
minute.
the coffee
Actually, it was
place?
no, actually, yep. Wait, because I joined last February. So, but I know there were like several other events that took place, and it was just back to back. But it was definitely membership drives, but I just love the fact that every time I have, even before, like I've got heavily involved, every meeting was always intentional, and just having those conversations. Everybody knows what everybody does, and this is trying to create a strong network of individuals, because we're not just women in the organization. But time goes by really, really fast on these podcasts. I'm like, if I needed 45 minutes to pass, like
I know.
waiting on something else, it would not pass by. But it seems like these podcasts be going by really, really, really fast. But let's see. So I'm gonna ask you. Let's see. Let's do some takeaways. Let's see. How often do you read? You got any books that you're reading, or any books that you most recently read?
Oh, the most recent, I like both fictional and non-fictional.
Okay.
I love
Okay.
Nicholas Sparks if it's my non-fictional, my love stories.
Okay. Hopeless romantic. I can see that. I can see that in you.
And then
I don't like nonfiction. I be like, I need it. Was that the one that's not true? Yeah. I want it to be true. Tell me what I need to do.
and then also, I'm listening to, dang it, why did I just lose his name? I'm gonna read it, but also I just bought the book from TD Jakes, The Disruptive Thinking. So
Okay.
I ordered that book. And I should be getting that one in May because I had to pre-order it, that one. I think that one will be good because it talks about volatile times.
Okay.
And I think those that are in entrepreneurship and business owners, I think that's tailored to a lot of those, that audience. And then the one that I'm also listening to is called Developing the Leaders Around You by John C. Maxwell.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That
Well, I
one's
have
really
to take
good.
note of that one. I love that. Well, I mean, you see, I just got one. I literally, as you was talking, I was opening it. Kind folks finish first. What I try to do, because being in sales, I try to listen to a lot of sales podcasts, stay in the know about sales, and making sure that what I'm doing is correct, because sometimes it gets slow. My world, your world, right? And so we need to know that we're doing what it takes. And whenever I read these books, whenever I listen to my podcast, I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. It can't be something that I'm not doing, because I'm doing it. And then when I share with other folks and they're like, oh, that thing that you told me to do, it actually worked. So like,
kind of like
okay,
practice
well,
what you preach, right?
exactly. And then I just started listening to this one book. My cousin and I are, it's called Gene Keys, which is, yes, on some real deep stuff, just kind of deprogramming the things that we've learned. But it's definitely always something constantly going. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you would like to add, Gabby?
No, I mean, as far as Women's Council, I encourage those that if they are watching this, or not a member, to sign up as a member. And if they're not sure, to come to one of the events and check it out, see what our community is all about.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me on today. This has been great. Learned a lot about you, stuff that I didn't know, and now I'm going to have to put some more things on my daily tasks of what I need to do, because obviously I'm not doing enough.
No, stop. I was like, you're doing great. You're doing so much. So you're doing amazing.
Well, this is Gabby's email address. If you are whether you're a real estate agent, a potential home buyer or seller, this is her email, GMARES1102@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to her. You can also find her on Instagram, Facebook, at your probably a local grocery store, soccer field, like,
Yes.
like
I was gonna say at the volleyball court.
volleyball court. Like, she is everywhere doing everything, but she's definitely doing phenomenal things. I really value Gabby, and I mean, just she's a true inspiration, and especially being a woman of color. Definitely, admire what you're doing, and I definitely want to see you win.
Thank
So, but
you.
thank you so much for joining me. So just hold on for me just a second, okay?
All right.
Well, thank you guys so much again for joining us. Wow, that was absolutely phenomenal. Definitely wanted to bring Gabby on to talk about not only real estate but women's council. I do get a lot of questions, but I mean, who else to ask these questions than our own fearless leader, Gabby? So again, if you have any questions, if you would like to reach out to her, her information is available for you to reach out to her. If you thinking about joining Monument, if you're thinking about joining Women's Council of Realtors Dallas, you can also reach out to me. Don't hesitate. We would love to have you. But until we meet again, as always, I'll see you in the closing room.